Welcome back to AM Live, and yes, today we are expecting the activist Okiya Omtata, who is now running for the Busia senatorial position under the NRA party. And I mean, I've had quite the luck this week in the last few hours in terms of expecting guests and them turning up on time, because we had expected him to start this quarter to the top of the hour, but he says he is still on the way. But who is Okiya Omtata, you may be asking? This is a man who has been termed as man of the people, who has fought for public interest and has been in court. Much as he is not a trained lawyer, he has an engineering background, has even tried to join priesthood, but couldn't quite do that as he had health issues and had developed problems, especially with epileptic episodes, and felt that he would not be able to carry out his duties as a priest had he continued with that course or route in life. And so he went on to pursue engineering studies and also had a stint and has still been active in the playwright scene of things, and he is also well known very well in the corridors of justice for fighting for the right of mwananchi and winning quite some cases in the interest of the common citizen. And for the past few months, people have been asking, where is Okiya Omtata, especially in the absence of a vibrant opposition where many issues facing the interests of the country would be fought for. And he has been very clear in past instances where there are issues with the government, corruption and what have you, and there is a lot of that to talk about, but he has been silent. Why? Because he's running for the Busia senatorial position, and there he had quite the moment. I'm talking about the 26th of May this year, when the leader of Azimio, Raila Odinga, was visiting Busia. He had his thoughts to share in terms of the six-piece voting pattern that the Azimio La Umoja coalition has been pushing for in various regions. And this is what he had to say without the fear of going against the grain of the Azimio movement there.
Mambo ya kusema at ODM 6 piece Busia hakuna. Mchague viongozi kulingana na msimamo wa mtu. Hakuna 6 piece Busia. 6 piece, baba kura yake tunampa, lakini hapa katikati tujakuane vile tunajuana. Kuna wakora wamejificha kwa ODM na lazima tuwang'oe. Wangapi wanunga mkono? Wapi kura ya baba? Wapi nduru ya baba? Wapi baba? Tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8 mwaka huu, kura ya rais ni nani? Raila Amolo Odinga. Ni ya nani? Alafu hapo kando ya useneta mnipe mimi. Asante sana.
That was Okiya Omtata on the campaign trail. Not quite the place many would expect to see him, and that's where he has been and should be in studio in the next few minutes, as we're informed that he has entered the building. And if you do remember this particular scene that even caught the attention of international media houses, and in 2008, in January 2008, and we have some of the pictures here courtesy of KTN News, that was a part of a story by Duncan Haemba, if my director would run those pictures from January 2008. At Vigilance House, Okiya Omtata decided to chain himself in protest at what he felt was the misuse of the police in fighting, or at least intimidating the mwananchi. And this was after the 2007 elections, and that was contested, and there was a lot of issue with many people being injured, many people being killed, and he felt that this was the best way of getting the attention of the authorities and the nation, and putting a message out there that the police brutality ought to end. And in fact, in this particular piece here that he was sharing on Untold Story, piece by Duncan Khaemba of KTN, he shared how, in fact, when he was arrested and went into the cells, he actually got a salute from the police officers, who felt that it was quite the achievement that he managed to chain himself, not getting the attention of the police, because they were busy out there trying to quell, some violence in different parts of the city. And he even got international media attention for this. And he said he was pushing for an agreement to be met between the two political players at the time, that is Raila Odinga and President Mwai Kibaki, then to come to the table and shake hands, or at least reach an agreement to bring an end to the fighting. And soon after that, of course, we know how it played out. And now, 10 years later, or at least 10 years later, there was a handshake. And we want to ask him and find out from Okiya Omtata what he feels about the handshake between Raila Odinga and the President Uhuru Kenyatta, and whether he feels it has stolen the opposition from the country, the vital role that the opposition plays in this country. And he's been in the civil society space, and being a one-man fighter for the right of Mwananchi, has done quite well for himself and won accolades from Mwananchi all over. And many are asking if the Senate is the best place for him to continue fighting for the right of Mwananchi. And this is just to remind you, or if you actually have no idea who Okiya Omtata is, just to show you the part he has played in the country. And even to the story that today, or at least in the last few hours, a land row of the Kenyatta University, where the Vice Chancellor has been suspended, maybe put that in quotes, perhaps even fired, as there has been a land tussle over a piece of land he's meant to give over to the WHO, but he declined to do so against the will of the leadership in the country. He had his thoughts to share, that is the VC. He had his thoughts to share on how this played out, and feeling that it was not carried out in a proper way. And Okiya Omtata also had a case against the former Kenyatta University VC in terms of her appointment in other places and other offices in the land. And he'll be telling us a bit about that, giving us a bit of background on this, and just to see if we are going to lose the man of the people, the fighter of the right of Mwananchi after he assumes office, if he is indeed going to manage to assume office. And if he doesn't, will he be back in the corridors of justice to fight for our rights, especially with where we are? A lot to talk about: the cost of living, the corruption cases within the government, and what have you, leadership and integrity, those who are assuming office currently, and or at least running for various political positions at the moment, though there are questions around their integrity, whether it is corruption cases or even criminal cases facing them. This has been a lot of discussion that has been formed on this, given what the EACC had to say about 241 leaders. And many would have expected Okiya Omtata to speak about this and fight for the right of Mwananchi. But then again, the man himself, he's making an entrance into the studio right now. It's good to see you. So as you mic up, just to show the pictures there of the man himself. I don't know if he's come with his chain. It's 78 kilograms chain. He's come with quite the bag in terms of what he was carrying. But yes, karibu to Okiya Omtata. And as you get mic'd, this is a story that I want you to respond to as we start. And yes, the top story that we had yesterday, and we'll have a lot of focus in the next few hours, the land row between Kenyatta University and the Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital over the ownership has taken a new twist, with the University Vice Chancellor, Professor Paul Wainaina, being suspended for 30 days pending investigations into the matter. The University Council has also been dissolved in the row, with Professor Washekewa Johi being appointed acting Vice Chancellor. Helen Aura put this report together on the land row that seems to have sucked in an international health organization, WHO.
Paul Wainaina's tenure as the Vice-Chancellor of Kenyatta University has come to a brief halt following the ongoing tussle between the institution and the state over the allocation of land. The institution claims that the manner in which the land was allocated to the World Health Organization was not procedural.
The issue is not really a Vice-Chancellor's issue. This is a council matter, and therefore, whatever I say, it will not have weight, because I actually have nothing to do property for KU. KU property actually belong to council.
While Wainaina held his ground, the rug was pulled under his feet today, with the University Council also sent packing. It is reported that half of the new council was appointed last week, while the other half has been appointed today, with Professor Cyprius Kiamba as the chair. Reports indicate that Kenyatta University had plans underway to build a children's hospital.
The decision was premised not only on the fact that Kenyatta University is holding large trunks of unutilized land, but more strategically because the planned interventions have a nexus to Kenyatta University's academic and research program.
Hii ni shamba ya Wakenya. And what this facility is going to do to help us improve healthcare, not just in Kenya, to help us meet emergencies, not just in Kenya, but throughout the African continent. Halafu wewe unaenda kuweka breaks hapo kwa sababu, lakini, bado nimebaki wiki 3. We shall deal with those individuals swiftly and effectively.
On the 9th of July 2022, President Uhuru Kenyatta, accompanied by the World Health Organization boss Tedros Ghebreyesus, led the groundbreaking for the construction of the organization's offices, positioning Kenya as the regional hub. Kenyatta said that this will not only scale up Kenya's health sector, ensuring the region is self-reliant, maintaining ample stock supply. According to one of the letters received by Wainaina on the 7th of July 2022 from PS Joseph Kinyua, it clearly stated, and I quote, "According to the Council of Kenyatta University, it is required to avail the parcel of land under Title LR 11026/2 for purposes of planning and excision in line with Section 69 of the Physical Planning and Land Use Act as follows and in line with the procedure outlined. 30 acres to the World Health Organization, 10 acres to the Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention, 180 acres to Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital, and 190 acres to facilitate resolution of the Kamai Settlement Scheme." Wainaina is now set to know his fate after 30 days pending investigations into the matter. Helen Aura, NTV.
The activist, man of the people, defender of the public is now in studio. And Okiya Omtata, good morning. Better late than never. It's good to have you with us. That story that is leading and at the moment a talking point. What's your reaction to what is at play and what is happening?
Well, I think first of all, it is true that it's public land, as the President had said. But we are a country governed by law. That's public land under the trusteeship of Kenyatta University. And it's the council who should have the final say. And I think the procedure for changing anything as regards the property of the university, which is vested in the council, should follow due process. And what I think was lacking in this particular case is the lack of due process. And it's a long-running story. I've been in fights over Kenyatta University, over former Vice-Chancellor, whose tentacles run deep, and I can see her hand in all this, because when the hospital was set up, it was set up as part and parcel of Kenyatta University, like building a classroom, where Kenyatta University wanted a space for training medical students, yes, like building a lecture hall. Now, when this thing came up, I think fellows saw a milch cow And so they, using their proximity to the president, they were able to get the president to issue what I call an illegal order.
Yes.
The Kenyatta University Teaching Hospital order, which has got basically no basis in law. And then went ahead and appointed the same people who are fighting Professor Wainaina to move on and take charge of the hospital, move it away from the university, and invest it in an amorphous group under an executive order issued by the president. So whether an executive order can override an act of parliament is something that I don't think can happen. And
it's something the president said there in the story that we've just played in, first of all, saying, I'm still in office, 3 weeks to go, and I can still make things happen. But that this facility, or at least what they're trying to do in partnership with the World Health Organization at the Kenyatta University property, is to benefit not just Kenyans in the health sector, but even the continent.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. But you see, we live under, that's why I say the rule of law, due process. In Kenya, the end does not justify the means. The means is equally important. So it's not about the president. It's not about Wainaina. It's not about who. It's about Kenyatta University as an institution, which has got a charter, which has got a plan, what do you call it, a strategic plan that runs for 25 years. And within that strategic plan is where they came up with the idea of the hospital. So there was the people sat down and said, Kenyatta University is here today. In the next 20 years, we want to have it here. So if somebody is coming up with an idea to change that, then go through the due process.
Okay.
It is important to have all these facilities.
Is this a case you would take up in terms of, in defense of Kenyatta University, or at least the Vice Chancellor who's now suspended?
I have had, there's a case I have in court, which has been frustrated here and there, in terms of the interface between Kenyatta University Teaching Hospital and Kenyatta University.
All right.
Because even if you look at all the documentation, it's like a lecture hall that the university put up. Then somebody grows an appetite saying this lecture hall has money, so kick the university out and give it to me.
Okay, let me hold you on that point, because I'm told we're having complications with your microphone. What's the luck for me this morning? But we'll be back to rectify that, and in conversation with the activist Okiya Omtata, now running for the Busia senatorial position under the NRA party. And if you're asking where he's been, that's where he's been, on the campaign trail. And he's also been breathing fire on the push by Azimio to have a 6-piece voting pattern. He said that's not going to fly in Busia, and he wants to go humundo with the other 8 contenders for the senatorial position. We'll see his game plan on that, and whether we have lost the man of the people now that he's going for Senate. In a moment, and the lines are open for you to call and ask him your questions.
The Communications Authority of Kenya, CA, regulates the broadcasting industry, promoting development of local content and ensuring responsible use of broadcasting platforms for national good. The Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
You're so beautiful.
So what do you want to talk about?
First, let's order a drink. Waiter?
No, I prefer to drink water.
Okay, a glass of water for the gorgeous lady, please.
Glass of water? Of course.
I want to talk about so many things with you. The first one is about the summer we spent together so many years ago.
Shall we order?
Okay, I'm sorry. But it's just that you're my girlfriend and that idiot wants to take advantage of you needing money.
You don't understand a thing!
Hey.
It had to be you.
thanks to the delicious taste of Tupika sifted maize meal. But if you ask me, itabidi wazoe. Try the tasty, nutritious Tupika sifted maize meal, now available near you. Ugali ni Tupike.
KenGen is East Africa's largest electricity producer, generating over 70% of the electricity consumed in the country. Kenya is now number 6 among top geothermal energy producers in the world. But how is geothermal energy produced? What are the unique byproducts of the geothermal energy? How does geothermal generation help Kenya achieve its commitment of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 32% by year 2030? Tune in this Sunday, the 17th of July at 10 p.m. on NTV to understand how geothermal energy provides an unparalleled response to the energy trilemma of green, clean, and sustainable.
Life is for the living. Make sure you live it well. Life is for the living and making sure that those who we love will be well taken care of.
Welcome back to AM Live. Our newsmaker this morning is activist Okiya Omtata. I have to put it out there that he's now running for the Busia Senate position, and people are asking, are we losing our fighter, the man of the people? In whose hands will we be safe? And before we took a break, we were talking about this controversy at the Kenyatta University, as the story there has taken a new twist, with the university Vice Chancellor Professor Paul Wainaina being suspended for 30 days pending investigations into a matter where that it embroils the Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital over the ownership of a piece of land that is meant to be given to development project for the WHO. At least that's how it's being painted. Yeah. And the president isn't too happy with how Professor Wainaina didn't quite bow to the expectations and the summons. Is this a case you were saying before we took a break that you would take on?
Well, when you look at the history of public land, one of the biggest problems of public land, and which we have really fought, and I think institutions are beginning to do, is the use of politicians to excise and appropriate public land has been the cause of a lot of problems. And right now, if you look at the Universities Act, all the assets of the university are vested in the council, not in the president. The president is no longer the chancellor of the universities. Mm-hmm. So universities are autonomous public bodies who have got a law, an act of government, an act of parliament to guide them in the way they do their things. And I think that if the president has good ideas, or even better ideas than what the council has, let him do them through the university, not from State House.
Okay.
Yeah, this thing of a big man having the final say has been the reason why this country has never developed.
Right.
The law should be the final say, and if the law says that these assets belong to the university, we have procedures. You can go to parliament, you can go, there are procedures for which the president can be accommodated with the big ideas. I realize that he has got 3 weeks to go and maybe he's in a hurry. That should not stop him from following due process. In Kenya, the end does not justify the means. In Kenya, the means is as important as the end. And so I think we should step back. And I think the president should step back and let the university drive this thing. Let the university negotiate it with the World Bank, and let's achieve it. Let us not begin losing public servants who are doing their work.
Right.
If you look at Article 236 of the Constitution, it precisely protects Professor Wainaina from what the president has done. Because you cannot fault Professor Wainaina for saying these are assets of the university, and I'm going to use them according to the law. If you want them to be used in another way, then let us do so.
Right.
But that attitude that the end justifies the means is what has seen us, even if you look at what has happened in Uhuru Park, the law was violated, the end might be a very good thing. But when you violate the law, what's the basis of it? You saw the other day when they did the SGR. I went to court and the court declared the thing unconstitutional. It violated the law in its being acquired. So should the Kenyans then pay the debt that was acquired by breaking the law? You know, we don't want to get into those kind of situations. Yet you could still do what you want to do within the confines of the law. So to me, I would plead that what is happening at the Kenyatta University, the president should step back, get Professor Iwainaina back to his job, get the council back in place, and let them work. Because if we don't have autonomous councils, then we are in a problem. Then politicians come and mess these institutions up. And yet, what is the elephant in the room in Kenya? Is professionalism. We do things in a haphazard way. And so, to me, in the Kenyatta University matter, I didn't say I'm going to get a case. I've got a case in court over the controversy regarding the ownership of Kenyatta University. It's, I think, a 3-year-old case. And I'm challenging the order, the executive order the president issued to create Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital as an autonomous body from the university with an autonomous board and away from the council. Okay. There's no way a presidential directive can override an act of parliament. The act of parliament says these assets belong to the university. So whether the president likes it or not, he has no power to do what he's doing. It may be a good thing, and I think it's a good thing to have the facilities they're talking about.
But the way they're going about it.
But let us go about it the correct way. Okay. Allow the university to own these properties and create partnerships with these organizations.
Now that sounds like the activist Okiya Omtata that many Kenyans have known over the years. Where has he been, and why have the streets or the corridors of justice not seen you in the last few months?
No, I've been there, just that the media has not focused on me.
Where have you been?
Last week, I went to court and I stopped an attempt to fill about 20 senior positions in parliament with the hangers-on. I went to court, there was a day before they were to do the height. I got a court order. When we went to court, for now the hearing of the case, I got a court order stopping the appointment of directors of within parliament. When we went to court, they pulled back. And they cancelled everything. Okay. So we are now on safe ground to make sure that we do not get parliament packed with hangers-on. Then the next people who are coming to parliament will have no say. All right. Today I'm filing a case. I prepared it overnight. Even if you look at me, I'm feeling sleepy. When I came from Busia yesterday. Yes. I learned that I did not have access to newspapers. So when I read the Monday newspapers, and then yesterday I saw a statement in The Nation quoting Junaid saying there's an attempt to rig the appointment of the clerk. So when I went to it and I looked at the constitution and I said, this is totally wrong. So I prepared overnight, I've worked overnight preparing a petition, which I'm filing this morning, to stop the attempt by this parliament to recruit a clerk for the next parliament. If you look at the constitution, a clerk is appointed by the House, just like a speaker. When this parliament ends, the new parliament should choose a speaker. So why is this parliament trying to choose a speaker and a clerk for the next parliament? You see? All right. So I want to go to court and stop that. Okay. About 4 weeks earlier, I disbanded the board of Kenya Bureau of Statistics, the Kenya Bureau of Standards, together with MD. They were all fired by the court because of irregularities. So it's not that I've not been around. I'm around and I have a lot of active issues going on. But then when I go to the Senate, it is going to enhance one thing. It is going to enhance my national oversight because I'll have the power to call for any document.
So there goes the answer then. You have been on the ground as well. When you're not in Nairobi, you've been on the ground.
Yes, I was on the ground
You're seeking the vote of?
I want to be the Senate of Busia. Okay. There are very many issues in Busia that have gone wrong. For the last 10 years, devolution in Busia has not been very effective, and especially on the question of oversight. So oversighting Busia. Okay. And my agenda, if I was to succeed, is to do open governance. I'll want all things that the governor intends to do, that the governor is doing, and any devolved funds, any funds that are sent to Busia, be it through an MP, be it through the governor, through the women rep, we want to see them used in an open manner. Put on the table and saying this is this with public participation. So I'll want to enforce the rule of law. And I think of all the people who are standing for it, I don't see why that should not work. We should be able to work as a team.
Yes.
And maybe make Busia an example of a county that is being governed according to the constitution and the laws of Kenya.
So you're going up against 8 other contenders?
No, 7 others.
7 other contenders, beg your pardon. And how has it been for you? I mean, who's funding the campaign? It takes quite a lot, energy, funds, and what have you.
Yes, I have prepared. You know, this is the second time I'm giving a stab to this seat. I ran in 2017 against a giant called the Honorable Amos Wako. AGM, he calls himself AG Emeritus, and we had a good fight. We are friends. He beat me with a narrow margin. So I'm giving it a second try, and I'm deploying the lessons I learned in that particular fight today. But it's a costly affair.
Yes.
I've reached out to friends here and there to help me put together a small budget. I also, and I've received some support here and there.
But mostly funding yourself?
Mostly I fund myself from my businesses.
Okay.
But we have got a candidate from UDA. I think he's called Moses Oudeamo from UDA. We have got a candidate from
the 7. You're talking about the other 7 candidates.
Yes, right. We've got an independent candidate called Moses Emuru.
Basically, they are strong contenders that you are up against.
I think anybody who has been cleared by the IEBC to run is a strong contender.
Okay.
So I don't underwrite anybody, but I'm not being influenced by their agenda. I've got my own agenda.
Yes.
And I'm executing my game plan. I'm not responding to what others are doing. I have my own game plan, which I'm executing.
You certainly do have your own agenda, and I'm talking about what happened on the 26th of May when, you know, in the presence of the leader of Azimio that you support for the presidency, at least you are vouching for him, you said you're not for the 6-piece voting pattern that was being campaigned for, at least is being campaigned for. You'll tell us what the mood is right now on the ground about that. But let's just refresh our memory on how that played out.
Mambo ya kusema at ODM 6 piece Busia hakuna. Mchague viongozi kulingana na msimamo wa mtu. Hakuna 6 piece Busia. 6 piece baba kura yake tunampa, lakini hapa katikati tujakuane vile tunajuana. Kuna wakora wamejificha kwa ODM na lazima tuwang'oe. Wangapi wanaunga mkono? Wapi kura ya baba? Wapi nduru ya baba? Wapi baba? Tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8 mwaka huu, kura ya urais ni nani? Raila Amolo Odinga. Ni ya nani? Alafu hapo kando ya useneta mnipe mimi. Asante sana.
Okiya Omtata, weren't you afraid you're going against the grain and what the Azimio leader is asking for? Did he have a talk with you after that?
Well, one thing I think my background would be important.
Yes.
I am a writer. I've published a number of books. And as a student of literature, I am a believer in, I'm not a believer in a single story. I'm a believer in anthologies. You even see like now Mo Farah. You know what has come out about Mo Farah?
Right.
You are realizing Mo Farah is not a single story, it's an anthology. You see? And that's the beauty of the whole thing. So to me, I believe that when you allow, the more the merrier. The important thing is that the politics of Kenya have been crystallized into two main formations. One is led by the deputy president, another one is led by the honorable the right honorable Raila Odinga, the former prime minister. And these two formations have got affiliate parties. There was a realization that none of them could run for this thing alone. So in all honesty and sincerity, the fact that Baba or Raila Amolo Odinga is running on an Azimio, as an Azimio candidate, not even as an ODM candidate,
yes,
answers the question. If he was confident enough that ODM was what he needed to get to power, as his supporters are doing. In fact, a lot of these things are not from Raila, are from his supporters who think that by being identified with Raila, they have a chance of succeeding. But the truth of the matter is that some of them, like if you take Busia County as a whole, all the MPs were not subjected to nominations. They were given direct tickets, okay? So if you say that we vote that the ODM candidate should go through, then it means that whoever chose those people is not the people. They were chosen in a boardroom somewhere. So let them be subjected to an electorate to choose. And I was just enumerating the numbers. I wanted you to see the parties. We have got ODM there, we have got Jubilee, we have got many other candidates. We are 8 of us. So the question of 6 seats will not arise when out of the 8, about 6 are in Azimio. 6 or 5 are in Azimio. So to me, the question is really the contract that people have taken up. Mm-hmm. Even the independent candidate, when he campaigns, he supports the candidacy of Raila Amolo Odinga. So why should he be locked out?
Okay, but just to that question, was there any side talk or sidebar with Raila after that?
You know, some of those things you don't want to...
But there was.
On national TV.
Has it worked against you? Let's talk about that. Has it worked against you, that stand that you pronounced?
No, it was not. I did not go. I did not even go. I think I helped Raila.
Okay, all right.
Because there was an issue on the ground whereby people were almost refusing to support Raila because of the behavior of the local ODM people, trying to muscle the electorate to say, if you are voting for Raila, then you must vote for so and so. Not saying that vote for Raila, but make a decision on these other seats.
Otoa Sifuna, he's calling in from Nairobi. He's watching the conversation. Otoa, good morning. And what's your question to Okiya Omtata?
Yeah, good morning, Mark Masai, and a very big thank you to and congratulations to my big brother, Okiya Omtata. We've worked with Okiya Omtata on the trenches, and I know the kind of grain that he's made up of. Okiya Omtata, I want to salute you. But the greatest tragedy in the Kenyan politics is that those with power, and in this case, Mark Masai, when I talk about those with power, I mean financial muscle and financial power. Those with power have got no ideas. And those with ideas like Okiya Omtata have got no power. I reckon and sympathize with this brother of mine that at one time he lost almost all his dental formula just because of agitating and promoting for the social democrats and the position of the Kenyans. But I reckon that the people of Busia might not elect him because he has got no financial muscle. Mark, you remember when PLO Lumumba, almost also another equivalent man with ideas, ran for the position of MP here in Nairobi. And the youth could listen to all these good ideas like the ones being raised by Okiya Omtata. And at the end of that, they will ask you, Bwana, sasa unatuachaje? And I reckon Okiya Omtata's pockets are almost empty, but his head is full of ideas. I salute you, bro, and I wish you well. But
thank you.
I might not really fudge that the people of Busia will not will consider you as the. But Mark Masai, I cannot go without asking him one crucial question.
He's listening.
On the question of Kenyatta University, I think Okiya Omtata, you need to really look at that with a different eye. This is a global institution that is coming in. And I think as the university, and Kenyatta University is my alma mater, I think the Vice Chancellor also needs to have considered the general good that this institution is coming to do on the Kenyan population, rather than the issue of land, Mark Masai, has been, and when it gets to big institutions and the presidency, that they lock horns on a piece of land at the expense of the general good of the Kenyan population, then I think Okiya Omtata, you need to have a different lens of looking at this.
Okiya Omtata, respond to that. Salute, thank you.
I agree that the institution, what I said, the end does not justify the means.
Right.
And there's no way, I'm not saying that the thing should not be done. I'm just saying, why don't you do it through the structures of the law? Because the Universities Act vests this property in the University Council. The university has a strategic plan. You want to change this strategic plan, go through the council, do what is necessary through the council. And it is not that it must happen within the last days of the president. So if it has come late, let us ventilate it. Let the good thing be done in a good way.
Okay.
I'm somebody who believes in as a student of St. Thomas Aquinas, I believe in the doctrine of completeness, which says that if something is worth doing, then do it well. So this thing is worth doing. It's worth building the institutions. But can we do it well by not breaking the law?
All right.
Can we do it well by not hurting those who are trying to uphold the law? And I don't see why there could be no conversation. If the president wanted to pretend it, I don't see why the president could not convene the university council with all the other stakeholders and sit on a round table and say that, let us move this way. Now you have got a whole university chancellor being suspended. Okay? That's a disruption of service.
Yes.
It is not necessary to have that kind of governance.
Okay.
And that's the kind of governance that then ends up that who is ruling? It is the men who are ruling, not the law.
All right, let's talk about the ground, and that's something Otoa brought up. You have the ideas, you have the brains, but you don't have the power, according to him, to assume office, and perhaps that is a reality that is around the country.
No.
Do you agree with what he's saying?
Well, I agree that democracy has been monetized in a very, very, very sad way. And I think maybe it's across the world. The only difference is that when you go to countries like the US, it's the population which funds you. Those who believe in your ideas will chip in. And when you come locally here, the population expects you to have made money however way to come and entertain them. And
this has been your experience?
That experience. But I try to manage it. And the other thing on the ground is that you go into the ordinary ground and you realize the mess that Kenya is.
Okay.
The levels of poverty are unbelievable. So, much as you might want to call these voters extortionists, you will also realize that somebody who has not had a meal maybe expects to have a meal from you on that day. But the good thing is that they don't like block your road or whatever. So if you talk to them well and you explain yourself, they listen.
All right.
So, but at the end of the day, I've had some support from friends who believe in my cause. Some whom I don't know, and I'm also organizing a fundraiser, I think, for Wednesday next week.
Okay.
Within town here, to see if I can raise some little funds. But I strongly believe that the time has come when those who have been agitating for change in this country try to control the majoritarian institutions where decisions are made on the basis of the vote.
All right.
Where laws are made. And somebody told me, I was having a chat with somebody who works in parliament yesterday when I was trying to piece together some things for the case I'm doing, and he was telling me, you know what, if you sit where I sit, you may never obey any law in Kenya. Because the way these laws are made, like the way sausages are made, you may not eat it, because there are so many vested interests that are packaged in this thing, and the discussion is hardly about the country.
Yeah.
It's about vested interests and cartels who want to get to use the law to protect themselves. So saying if you sat where I sat, you would disobey about 90% of the laws of Kenya, because they've been designed in such a way that they want to control vested interest. And I was saying, I hope you come here and help us in dealing with this legislation issues.
Okay, I believe we have another caller. The director, if you could just tell us who that is. And Ken Adair, he's calling from Busia. Ken Adair, good morning. Where are you calling us from? And Okiya is listening. Ken, are you there? All right, let's continue. That was perhaps a misinformation there on the call. But Otoa did mention something. In your fight for the public interest, you have lost a lot. I mean, he's even said your dental formula has been rearranged one way or the other. And you could laugh now, but it's no laughing matter, because in 2013, you lost your... 2012, you lost
8th of November.
Yeah, you lost your lower teeth.
I lost a total of 10 teeth. All these are fake teeth that I have.
And this was, correct me if I'm wrong, and you're quoted in an article here that's done by one of my colleagues in the industry. And this is, you were quoted, "I was nearly killed over the BVR kits case." And if you look at my mouth here, opening your mouth there, as you were doing the interview with Judy Kaberia, you see those metals. I don't have teeth. They were all knocked out. I just have artificial teeth. They nearly killed me because I refused a bribe of 9 million. Refresh our memory of this particular case.
Yes, I refused a bribe of 9 million, which was to be transmitted to me through a friend, a lady from Western whom I know very well, and a public figure. They wanted me to withdraw the case on the BVR because, one, the company that does elections in India had quoted and had won the tender for 4.6 billion. Then those fellows come around, and that time it was called electoral. It was not IBC, it was the other name, the EC, whatever. So they come around and purport to disqualify this company that have done due diligence, and the due diligence is done on a telephone, whereby on Friday, somebody sends an email to the High Commissioner in India from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that give us an opinion on this company. On Monday, there's an opinion saying this company is blacklisted and therefore should not be given the job. Yet this is a company that is doing very big things in the digital whatever in India, organizing elections for billions of people, which had said, you people, if you want to have a digital election, we'll come with our equipment. You don't even need to buy the equipment. We'll come with our equipment, and we'll conduct the election for you, and we'll give you the results. So, but the problem is that the people wanted to make money, and the people did not want a credible election, because under the Kenyan constitution, the question of free and fair election was rejected. What we have is tamper-proof elections. And even now, when you look at what IBC is doing, they're not preparing for a tamper-proof election. They're preparing for elections where it will still be possible to tamper with the results.
So what happened? You with this case that you were pursuing, someone attacked you
physically?
So
there was an attempt. When I was walking on the street, some group of fellows approached me and talked about it and said, you see, this is our business. Why don't we partner? You also make something. This is what Kenya is all about. I told them, give me time to think about it, because I wanted to get away from them. Then after that, I followed up with somebody from my home area to came and we began talking. In home area, when I said home area, I mean Western Province.
Yes.
Who came and began telling me there was this and that, and she had been given 9 million to bring me so that I dropped the case. I told her I don't deal in that.
Okay.
So I refused, and I refused adamantly. She went back. Then I tried to go to court for protection. The judge dismissed me as being an alarmist. 2 days later, I was attacked on the street, and the fellow who hit me said, one of them said, there were two guys. One of them said, unakataa pesa na leo utakufa, na hiyo kesi itakufa na wewe. That's how I was able to connect the money to the case and the attack. But fortunately, I survived, and I lived to do other things. But at the end of the day is that the power to say no to people who want to do bad. It's the biggest power God has given us. When you look at, and I always tell myself,
yes,
when you look at the Christian story, if only Adam and Eve had said no to the devil, we would still be in paradise. And that's the reason why I keep on saying no to nonsense.
All right, let's listen into Ken now. I believe we have him online. Ken, good morning. Please, Okiya is listening.
Good morning, Masai. Good morning, Churchill.
Morning. That's my kid name was called Churchill. That was my guy who knows me very well.
Go ahead, Ken.
In the village, everybody calls me Churchill.
Yes, Churchill.
Yes.
Are you getting me?
Go ahead, please. He can hear you.
Yeah, I'm talking right from Busia. I just want to give thumbs up and tell you that don't worry about money. The voters are more interested in service delivery, and they're invested in you emotionally, psychologically, and politically.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ken. Let me cut it at that because there's some feedback on your line. Do we have anyone else? Edward, good morning, sir, and Okiya is listening.
Good morning, and I'm actually so happy to hear today that a person like Okiya Omtata can come on the television to encourage people who are low like us. Mine is just to encourage Omtata that we are standing with you. I come from Busia, mostly in a very marginalized place called Teso. When you hear Teso, it's actually a place which has been actually left behind. But with the brains of people like Okiya Omtata, I think we also stand to see that you can come from down and stand on top. So my request to Okiya Omtata, don't give up, and we are there. In fact, me particularly, I'm voting from home, and I have mobilized people. Immediately I heard that Okiya Omtata is standing to be a senator of Busia. One of the things I did was to transfer my vote back home.
Wow.
Because I needed to encourage the lower voter. And Okiya Omtata, you have a courage, you have stood by the lower Kenyans, you have fought for us, and please, you have a vote, and don't listen that you will not go through in this election.
Thank you, Edward.
I tell you for sure you will go through.
Thank you, Edward, and have a good day, and quite encouraging words there from Ken and Edward.
It is encouraging, and I've made a lot of that on the ground. And so far, both of the challenges of finances, I've not been able to move in many places, but I'm about to wrap up because there's a Butula sub-county. I've not been there. I'm planning to do that this coming week. Matayo sub-county, parts of Samia and parts of Bunyala I need to do, and then Teso North, I've not done much there. So I'm still struggling to go, but I get encouraged when you hear people like that. And
Yes.
there's a lot of those calls which come through. The other time somebody called me, somebody I don't know, from Mombasa, and said, you know what, there's one case you did that saved my business and you don't know. So I will chip into your campaign by donating 2 vehicles.
That is really encouraging to hear. But
Yeah,
the question here is, even as you get some support from, quite some support from the ground, is are you abandoning the people?
No.
The man of the people abandoning us for politics?
I'm going to enhance oversight. Because if you look at the Constitution, it says any person. In fact, the Constitution requires all of us to be activists. Article 3, Clause 1. We are supposed to uphold and defend and do the Constitution.
Yeah.
Every person. Doesn't matter who you are. These other designations, they are not mutually exclusive. And as I was telling you earlier on, there are places where you want to intervene and you want documentation, but people disregard you. Mm-hmm. And I believe that occupying a position of a senator, if I succeed, and the indications are that I'm going to succeed because the ground is really receptive, then that position will help me to be able to demand for documentation where there is anything like that. And you see another thing, we formed a political party, the National Reconstruction Alliance.
Yeah.
And this party has been formed by largely university students. whom I met, we discussed, and we got things together and said, why don't we try to get a way of reimagining Kenya?
Yes.
And trying to give it a proper leadership. And we struggled through the process of making that party. We registered a bit late, just when before the elections went. But our plan was that when we got in, we said that once we, after the elections, between this election and the next election, we must drive the agenda based on the riding on this political party. We want to set up in every county, we want to set up a shadow government under the political party to monitor, to oversight those who have been elected.
Okay.
And we want to use that and to push so that one, to help identify leaders from the margins, who may have leadership quality but are in the margins, and two, to ensure that we push for open governance across the country.
As we wind up, if you don't make it to Busia, that's if, because you're confident you will make it to the Busia senatorial position, what will be next for Okiya Omtata? Back to the courts?
No, I'm not leaving the courts. I'm just going to enhance. I just want to go to the majoritarian institution to enhance oversight, to enhance representation. You had somebody from Tess what he has said. And the Busia, largely very big parts of Busia, like in Bunyala and Samia, and parts of North Teso. These are areas which need to be under the ASAL. They are arid and semi-arid areas that need to be realized within that construct. Then you have got the issue of appropriation. These budgets. You know you have got what you call budgeted corruption right now. And that's one thing I want. If I become the senator of Busia, I want to make sure there's no budgeted corruption in Busia. Nothing is put in the budget which is designed to be stolen.
If it doesn't go according to plan, what will be next?
If it doesn't go, I'll continue the life I've been leading.
Which is?
Engaging in business, writing. What will not be there. What I'm trying to do is not to change my life. I'm trying to add on an aspect of being a participant in a majoritarian institution. So I'm not trying to diminish my life. I have a very, very fulfilling life, and I'm very happy with my life. But I feel that one way of paying my rent to the earth is to go into the majoritarian institutions and demand certain minimums to be there. Like if you look at devolution, there are very many laws that need to be made to enhance devolution. It's one of the things I want to do and push through the legislative agenda that I have to be able to realize that. And just finally, one of the things I also believe in is that there's a design flaw between the Senate and the National Assembly. We need to make the Senate the upper house. And one of the things, if I succeed and get into the Senate, is to try and achieve that through either legislation or amendments to the Constitution that put the Senate as the upper house of the bicameral parliament to ensure that both houses have a say on every bill before it can become law.
But you say at the moment, before you get there, there's a case you're going to, or at least a petition that you're going to file at the moment. You're headed there?
Yes, I'm just filing a case this morning on the issue of the appointment of the clerk. And I want to uphold the constitutional provision, I think it's Article 128, Clause 1, which says that every house shall appoint its clerk. So there's no way a house, this parliament, you know, like in the UK, we have got the clerk of the parliaments.
Yes.
There's an S. Here is the clerk of the National Assembly, not of the National Assemblies. So the clerk of the parliaments is a clerk who can serve different houses. But the clerk of the National Assembly serves that assembly. The new assembly must choose its own clerk. And that's why I'm going to file in court to enforce and to stop the Parliamentary Service Commission and the current parliament from recruiting a clerk for the next house. Just as I've stopped the other jobs, I stopped last week, I stopped about 20 jobs. I want to also try and stop this one.
But Okiya Omtata, all the best. You've heard it that the activist is still active and we're not losing him as Kenyans, and he will still be fighting for the right of Mwananchi and will still be a man of the people. Thank you for your time this morning and thank you for watching AM Live. Have yourself a good day.
Thank you.